Welcome to our virtual class today. So we will be discussing the following: what is SQL, applications of SQL, brief history of SQL, SQL syntax, SQL data manipulation language or DML, which consists of insert, update, and delete. So now let us first define what is SQL. So it stands for Structured Query Language, a database computer language designed for the retrieval and management of data in a relational database. SQL is a language to operate databases. It includes database creation, deletion, fetching rows, and modifying rows. SQL is an ANSI or American National Standards Institute standard language, but there are many different versions of the SQL language. So what are the various applications of SQL? So allows user to access data in the relational database management systems, allows users to describe the data, allows user to define the data in a database and manipulate that data, allows to embed within other languages using SQL modules, libraries, and pre-compilers, allows users to create and drop databases and tables, allows user to create view, stored procedure, functions in a database, allows users to set permissions on tables, procedures, and views. So the brief history of SQL started way back 1970. Dr. Edgar F. Ted Codd of IBM is known as the father of relational databases. He described a relational model for databases. 1974, structured query language appeared. 1978, IBM worked to develop Codd's ideas and release a product named System/R. 1986, IBM developed the first prototype of relational database and standardized by ANSI. The first relational database was released by Relational Software, which later came to be known as Oracle. SQL syntax. SQL is followed by a unique set of rules and guidelines called syntax. All the SQL statement starts with any of the keywords like select, insert, update, delete, alter, drop, create, use, show, and all the statements ends with a semicolon. The most important point to be noted here is that SQL is case insensitive, which means capital letters select and small letters select have same meaning in SQL statements, whereas MySQL makes difference in table names. So, if you are working with MySQL, then you need to give table names as they exist in the table or database. So SQL data manipulation language is a computer programming language used for adding or inserting, deleting and modifying or updating data in a database. A DML is often a sub-language of a broader database language such as SQL, with the DML comprising some of the operators in the language. Read-only selecting of data is sometimes distinguished as being part of a separate data query language or DQL, but it is closely related and sometimes also considered a component of a DML. Some operators may perform both selecting or reading and writing. In SQL, the data manipulation language comprises the SQL data change statements, which modify stored data but not the schema or database objects. Manipulation of persistent database object examples, tables, or stored procedures via the SQL schema statements rather than the data stored within them is considered to be part of a separate data definition language or DDL. In SQL, these two categories are similar in their detailed syntax, data types, and expressions, but distinct in their overall function. The SQL data change statements are a subset of the SQL data statements. This also contains the select query statement, which strictly speaking is part of the DQL, not the DML. In common practice, though, this distinction is not made and select is widely considered to be part of DML. So the DML consists of all SQL data statements, not only the SQL data change statements. The select into form combines both selection and manipulation, and thus is strictly considered to be DML because it manipulates or modifies the data. In the SQL DML statement, each clause in a statement should begin with a on a new line. The beginning of each clause should line up with the beginning of other clauses. If a clause has several parts, they should appear on separate lines and be indented under the start of the clause to show the relationship. Uppercase letters are used to represent reserved words. Lowercase letters are used to represent a user-defined words. So data manipulation languages or DML have their functional capability organized by the initial word in a statement, which is almost always a verb. In the case of SQL, these verbs are as follows. So we have select from where, select into, insert into values, update set where, and delete from where. So the SQL select statement is used to fetch the data from a database table, which returns this data in the form of a result table. These result tables are called results sets. So we have the syntax select column 1, column 2, column n from table name. So here, column 1, column 2, and so on and so forth are the fields of a table whose values you want to fetch. If you want to fetch all the fields available in the field, then you can use the following syntax. So we have select asterisk from table name or indicate the name of the table. So we have here an example of a customer table having the following records. So we have record 1 to 7, and this table consists of the following fields. So we have the ID, which is 1 to 7, and we have the customer name from Ramesh to Mafi. We have age, and then address and salary. So we will be using these tables all throughout the presentation. So the following code is an example which would fetch the ID, name, and salary fields of the customers available in customer table. So we have the SQL statement select ID, name, salary from customers. So from our customer table, we will only display three fields, ID, name, and salary. So our generated output is ID, name, and salary. So we will ignore the column part of age and address. Next, if you want to fetch all the fields of the customer's table, then you should use the following query. So we have the select asterisk from customers. So we will be displaying all the records in the table. So next, the SQL where. So this clause is used to specify a condition while fetching the data from a single table or by joining with multiple tables. If the given condition is satisfied, then only it returns a specific value from the table. So you should use the where clause to filter the records and fetching only the necessary records. The where clause is not only used in the clause statement, but it is also used in the update delete statement, which we would examine in the subsequent slides. So our syntax is select column 1, column 2, up to the end column from table name where condition. The condition here to satisfy uses various relational operators such as greater than equal, less than, equal, equal, or not equal. So the following code is an example which would fetch the ID, name, the salary fields from the customer's table where the salary is greater than 2,000. So our condition is greater than 2,000. So we have the SQL statement select ID, name, salary from customers where salary is greater than 2,000. So we will be fetching those data that will satisfy our condition. So from the customers table, which consists of IDs 1 to 7, which consists also of fields name, age, address, and salary. So we will be fetching ID number 4, Chaitali, which has a salary of 6,500. And then Hardik, salary is 8,500, which is greater than 2,000. And then Komal, 4,500. And Mafi, which is, the salary is 10,000. So our generated output will only be ID 4, 5, 6, and 7. So next, the SQL and or operators are used to combine multiple conditions to narrow data in an SQL statement. These two operators are called as the conjunctive operators. These operators provide a means to make multiple comparisons with different operators in the same SQL statement. So the AND operator allows the existence of multiple conditions in an SQL statement's where clause. So our syntax would be select column 1, column 2, up to the end column from table name, where condition 1 and condition 2 and condition n. So the following is an example which would fetch the ID, name, salary fields from the customer's table where salary is greater than 2,000 and the age is less than 25 years. So in this particular statement, we will be satisfying two conditions. Greater than 2,000, the salary, and the age is less than 25 years old. So our SQL statement would be select ID, name, salary from customers where salary is greater than 2,000 and age is less than 25. So from this table, from our original table, so we will be fetching ID number 6, which is Komal, age is 22, and then the salary is 4,500. Okay. And then we have ID number 7, Mafi, age is 24, and salary is 10,000. So our generated output is ID 6 and 7 only. So it displays the ID, name, and salary field. Next, the OR operator. This is used to combine multiple conditions in an SQL statement's where clause. So our syntax is select column 1, column 2, column n from table name where condition 1 or condition 2 or condition n. So the following code block has a query which would fetch the ID, name, and salary fields from the customer's table where the salary is greater than 2,000 or the age is less than 25 years. So there are again two conditions on multiple conditions. So it may either satisfy the salary which is greater than 2,000 or the age is less than 25 years old. So we have our SQL statement select ID, name, salary from the customer's table where salary is greater than 2,000 or age is less than 25. So we will be only displaying or retrieving the ID, the name, and the salary. So we have ID 3, Kaushik. So age is 23. Okay, and the salary is 2,000. Then we have ID number 4, Chaitali, which is the age is 25, but the salary is greater than 2,000, which is 6,500. Next, we have ID 5, Hardik. The age is 27, but the salary is 8,500. So that is greater than 2,000. Next, we have number 6, Komal, whose age is 22, and the salary is 4,500. And we have ID7, Mafi, which age is 24, and the salary is 10,000. So our generated output is ID 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Next, the SQL update query. So this is used to modify the existing records in a table. You can use the where clause with the update query to update the selected rows. Otherwise, all the rows would be affected. So our syntax is update table name, set column 1 is equal to value 1. So we're going to indicate the updated value for a particular column. Then we have the column 2 is equal to value 2, and column n is equal to the value n, where condition. So the following query will update the address for a customer whose ID number is 6 in the table. So our SQL statement would be update customers, set address is equal to Pune, where ID is equal to 6. So from our customers table, so we will be updating the ID number 6 address. Okay, so we have ID number 6, which is Komal, and then the current address is MP, and then we will update this to Pune. So our generated output is, so let's see the ID number 6, Komal, whose age is 22 and address is Pune. So from MP, so we will be updating this address to Pune. So that is our generated output. Next, the SQL delete query. So this is used to delete the existing records from a table. You may use the where clause with the delete query to delete the selected rows. Otherwise, all the records will be deleted. So we should be very careful in using this particular query statement. So our syntax is delete from, indicate the table name, where condition. So the following code has a query which will delete a customer whose ID is equal to 6. So we have the SQL statement delete from customers where ID is equal to 6. So this is our customers table, and then we will be deleting ID number 6, which is Komal 22 MP 4500. So our generated output is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. Why? Because we deleted ID number 6. So we deleted everything. The ID, the name, the age, address, and the salary of the customer's ID number 6. Next, we have the SQL like clause. This is used to compare a value to similar values using wildcard operators. There are two wildcards used in conjunction with the like operator. We have the percent sign and the underscore. So the percent sign represents 0, 1 or multiple characters. The underscore represents a single number or character, and these symbols can be used in combinations. So there are various syntax in using the percent and the underscore. So you may use either of this syntax. So we have the select from table name, where column like, so indicate, use the single quote, for example, XXX and then percent sign, or select from table name where column like, single quote, percent sign, XXX, percent sign, or select from table name where column like, single quote, XXX underscore, or select from table name where column like, single quote, underscore XXX. So let's apply those syntax. So following is an example which would display all the records from the customers table where salary starts with 200. So we will be only retrieving those values whose salary is like 200. So the SQL statement would be select asterisk from customers where salary like single quote, 200%. So from our table, customers table, so let's see which salary is like 200. So we have number one, Ramesh, salary is 2,000. And we have ID number three, Kaushik, which is also 2,000. And then the rest is not like. So our generated output would be ID1 and ID3, ID1 Ramesh, and ID3 Kaushik. So that is our generated output. Okay, so let's review what we have discussed today. So we have, okay, so we have defined what is SQL or structured query language. The various applications of SQL, such as to access data, describe the data, define the data, embed within other languages, create and drop databases and tables, create view, and set permissions on tables, procedures, and views. Then we also discussed the brief history of SQL. It is Dr. Edgar F. Ted Codd is the father of the relational databases. Then the various syntax of SQL for select, insert, update, delete, alter, drop, create, use, show, and that all statements in the SQL ends with a semicolon. And then we also define the concept of DML or data manipulation language. And then the various syntax for the SQL. So we have the syntax for the select, and then we have syntax for where using the where clause, and then the operators and or, and then we have update query, and then we have the delete query, and then we have the like clause, which uses wildcard operators such as percent sign and underscore.